The yeas are 427. The nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
You don't care that the president might be a pedophile? You don't care that the
pedophile.
You don't.
No evidence of that.
No, there's no evidence of it, but that's what. No, it's not insane. That's what we've been talking about all week.
There is no evidence of that. We're not going to.
No, but that's what the emails have been talking about. That's what we've been talking about all week. That's why he doesn't want to release the files. And to say that nobody cares is kind of absurd. If the president is a pedophile, we should know about it, and people would care about that.
All right, no one is suggesting that President Trump is a pedophile.
Capital. I want to be extremely clear and make it clear to our viewers that the president has not been accused of any wrongdoing in these emails or throughout this process. A large portion of them came before he was even in office. But it is notable that their relationship comes up again and again in these emails. Do you have questions for the president about their relationship? Does it make you at all curious about it?
Well, here's what else Jeffrey Epstein wrote. He wrote several text messages to Congresswoman Plaskett while she was sitting on the Oversight Committee in an oversight hearing about Jeffrey Epstein, and she was asking him what questions to ask Michael Cohen.
Having email exchanges does not mean that they did something criminal.
Like Larry Summers.
Okay, but
or Stacey Plaskett.
Yes.
The fact that they're having exchanges
exactly.
with Epstein.
That may not be criminal. I do think it is wrong. I mean, people like Deepak Chopra.
I agree. Does that apply?
Being.
Does your concern apply to Stacey Plaskett?
Absolutely. It applies. Did you just hear me?
Across the board.
Did you just hear me say?
You think she should resign?
There you go again. There you go again, trying to make this into a Democrat.
I think it's very.
She was being programmed by him after the moment you said we all knew.
It's very hypocritical for you to call out the names of only the Democrats, but not apply the very same logic to everyone.
What Republican was he programming?
Listen, hold on. You're basically saying if you're named in these documents, I guess you're saying that they should be condemned. Anna is basically saying, let it all out. But you're the only one who's making a carve out for one person, and that's Donald Trump.
There's no evidence that he had any contact with Epstein after he excommunicated him, but we do have evidence that he was programming Democrat members of Congress. Why isn't that a big deal to you guys?
I guess the point is we just don't know.
We do know that. We absolutely know he was programming.
To a greater degree on Democrats. You mentioned the delegate from the Virgin Islands, Stacey Plaskett, who during a hearing in February of 2019 with Michael Cohen was getting real-time coaching via text by Jeffrey Epstein. We put that together. Watch how it unfolded here.
Reduce his real estate taxes. I'm sharing with you 2 newspaper articles side by side that are examples of Mr. Trump inflating and deflating his assets, as I said, to suit his finance testimony. As I noted, I'm giving the committee to
Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? As Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot.
I mean, that's just extraordinary. This is a guy who was 4 months away for getting popped for all of the bad stuff that he had been doing.
I first want to give you all a sense of what was happening that day. Everyone knows at that hearing in February, the entire country was watching. As Michael Cohen decided he was going to finally give up information about what was happening in the Trump world, the Trump enterprise. And at the beginning of that hearing, the ranking member, Jim Jordan, had the disrespect to Elijah Cummings, may he rest in peace and his name be a memory, after not allowing Mr. Jordan to shut the committee hearing down. And I turned to Mr. Jordan and told him to have respect for the chair and to basically shut up. And that moment went viral. And I began to get innumerable texts from friends, from foes, from constituents about what was happening in that hearing. And I got a text from Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time was my constituent, who was not public knowledge at that time that he was under federal investigation, and who was sharing information with me.
The gentleman is recognized.
And I rise in opposition to this resolution. We're here today on the floor to support the complete disclosure of information related to Jeffrey Epstein and his billion-dollar international child sex trafficking ring. And our side of the aisle at least supports the release of information relating to anybody who had anything to do with it, whether they're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, or what have you, period. We insist on complete, full disclosure. This resolution has nothing to do with that. This seems to me to be one more pathetic effort to distract and divert attention from the fact that the president's name appeared more than 1,000 times already in the small fraction of material released on Epstein, and from the failure of the majority to move to disclose this information.
Tonight, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, a former Harvard professor herself, is calling on the school to cut ties with the former university president and current faculty member Larry Summers. That's because Senator Warren says that Summers cannot be trusted, that's her quote, after new details emerged regarding his close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. All of this revealed in last week's release of Epstein's private emails. Larry Summers served as Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary, and in Barack Obama's administration, he was the director of the National Economic Council. These new emails revealed comments that Summers made as he also sought out dating advice from Jeffrey Epstein. That includes the morning of March 17th, 2019. Let's see these emails here where Summers and Epstein were exchanging multiple emails debating Summers and whether or not he should send a note to a romantic interest. Epstein argued to Summers that it would be, quote, bad form. Summers wrote back, quote, why bad form? Supposed to be face-to-face? To which Epstein replied, you care very much for this person. You might want to demonstrate that. A note does the very opposite. Now, the reason that exchange is notable, that we're pointing it out, is because of when it happened. It was just 4 months before that exchange that the Miami Herald had published an exhaustive investigation detailing Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of underage girls. They continued to communicate, though, for the next several months. That includes on July 5th, 2019, when Larry Summers sent Jeffrey Epstein an update from his vacation on Cape Cod. The next day, July 6, 2019, was when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested for sex trafficking crimes. Now, tonight, Larry Summers told CNN in a statement that he is going to continue to teach at Harvard, but he will be stepping back from his other public commitments, saying in a statement that he takes full responsibility for the misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein.
Okay. Senator, on that note, just I guess a question that's out there. Why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Or not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding? Why doesn't he want them released? When you don't want something like this released, when even a whole lot of Republicans are calling for the release, his own party members, people ask the question, what's he hiding? It's got to be answered by releasing the files.
Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch.
Who blocked this each time? This is actually amazing, folks. July 23rd, 2025, release blocked by Robin L. Rosenberg, the Southern District of Florida, appointed by Barack Obama in 2014. That's weird. Denied unsealing the grand jury transcripts from Epstein's 2005 to 2007 Florida federal investigation, ruling that the request fell outside judicial proceedings and violated state secrecy guidelines, and declined to transfer the case back up to New York. August 11th, just a month later, 2025, blocked again by Paul A. Engelmeyer, Southern District of New York, rejecting unsealing of grand jury materials from Ghislaine Maxwell's case, stating that they, contained no new information. And, they said it was a risk of unraveling secrecy without sufficient justification. That's pretty weird, because another judge just released all the grand jury information to Comey's team, which you would think, since Comey is, alive and stuff, unlike Epstein, would be even more unprecedented. But whatevs. Anyway, the third time On August 20th, 2025, Richard M. Berman, Southern District of New York, denied unsealing of grand jury transcripts and exhibits from the Epstein 2019 indictment, calling the DOJ's motion a diversion from its own and unreleasing files, emphasized threats to victim safety and privacy, even though all those names just would have been redacted.
Should Americans trust you and House Democrats on the Jeffrey Epstein files when one of your own, Congresswoman Plaskett, was found to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing, getting information from him, using that in her questioning during a congressional hearing, and at one point he tells her, "Good job."
This is a bipartisan effort to make sure that, consistent with what the survivors have requested, that there's full and complete transparency, and every single predator who may be in those Justice Department files doesn't escape accountability.